The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, for an effortless finish to your day. New Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
This is News Talk.
Great to have you along this evening. So, busy show. Racing writer Sean McGee is going to tell us about the extraordinary life and times of one Lester Piggott. Racing icon, enigmatic personality, passed away on Sunday. So Sean McGee will be with us just after 8 o'clock. We have former Derry player Conleth Gilligan on the football weekend, not least events in Clonus. And then Olympic, world and European gold medalist Kelly Harrington with us on everything from opportunist politicians to why the lure of professionalism and money holds no sway for her. Dan McDonnell as well in studio for the football show after 9. Republic of Ireland gearing up for a busy few weeks. 53106 the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. John Duggan once again with us. Hello, John.
Joe, how are you doing? And Arthur.
And Arthur O'Dea. Arthur. So Lester Piggott, it's just so extraordinary, his career. Iconic, and you know your racing, John, in particular. Everybody knows Lester Piggott, but the nitty-gritty of his achievements are just so insane. His riding career lasts 47 years, which is hard enough to get your head around. He rides over 5,000 winners around the world, 4,500 of those in the UK. So his very first race is in April 1948, and his first winner is that same year. He's 12 years old. Now, these days, you have to be 16 or over to race, but he was 12 in 1948, and he was born into a family of racing people going back 6 generations. His grandfather won the Grand National 3 times, for instance. So it was, there was something in the blood for sure. So wins his first race age 12. Then he wins his first derby. He wins 9 of them in total. Wins his first derby aged 18 in 1954. And there was an early sign of his laconic ways, because his response to winning the derby aged 18 was, "It's just another race." So he wins that 9 times across his career. And right the way through, it's just roller coasters. So he spends the year in prison for tax evasion in the late 80s, and he has retired from racing at that stage, and then makes this miraculous return and wins the Breeders' Cup Mile at Belmont in 1990, aged 54, and he wins his 30th English Classic, the 2,000 Guineas, in 1992, 11 times champion jockey, retires in 1995, a career lasting 47 years. Mad.
Yeah, Lester was an icon, really. You think about the greatest trainer of all time was Vincent OBrien, and the man he partnered with for a huge amount of his success was Lester Piggott. So you wouldn't have Coolmore now, the top breeding operation around the world, or Aidan O'Brien, no relation to Vincent, without the roots of the dominance that became apparent when Vincent trained, 6 winners at the Derby. Like, Vincent O'Brien was a jumps trainer, first of all. He won the Grand National 3 times in the 50s with 3 different horses. He had the champion hurdle, the champion chase. So the whole Cheltenham thing came out of Vincent O'Brien. But then Vincent went to the flat. John Magnier was his son-in-law, and Robert Sangster, this British businessman. And Lester then started riding for them, and they were unbeatable. So horses like the Minstrel in 1977 won the Derby. They had Nijinsky, probably one of the most famous horses of all time. The only horse to ever win the 2,000 Guineas, which is the mile at Newmarket, the Derby, 1.5 miles at Epsom, and then the St. Leger, which is 1 mile and 6 furlongs at Doncaster. So you're talking about a thoroughbred that would have to have huge amount of versatility to be able to run over those varying distances and win. And Lester had a very unique style. He was 5'8". He was quite very high in the saddle, powerful, was all about getting the horse balanced, and an enigmatic character, as he said, was partially deaf and had a speech impediment, and didn't say a lot, did a lot of his talking on the race course, and brevity was, I think, the essence of a lot of his communication.
Yeah. Arthur was going through the archives, so here we are, 1950. So we reckon that would make Piggott 14. And he's already had his first winner age 12, and he's embarking on what will be this legendary career. So here we are, there's another world.
Riding on the crest of a wave is 14-year-old Lester Piggott, son of trainer Keith Piggott. Famous jockey in his time, Keith knows Lester is really only just beginning. And pleased as he is, he's more concerned with his son's future. By getting out of the apprentice class so young, he's made no record. Frank Wootton did as well. But he's shown he's a born jockey. Besides riding and stable work, Lester has to get in his education too. Well, perhaps that is part of his education. There's a big future ahead of him, though things will be a little harder now he's lost the allowance. Wise home guidance will see he goes the right way. Lester will always remember where he won his 40th victory. It was at Leicester. A great day for father and son. Long may they enjoy success.
There we go. Hugh McIlvanney has a line on him. When he walked into paddock before the Derby, it was like seeing Brando on the screen. You couldn't look at anybody else. There was a kind of aloofness, almost an aura of superiority. Certainly a man apart is a line McIlvanney had on him. And there is something about a jockey when they're so gaunt and chiselled and the cheekbones are jutting out, and it gives them a certain matinee appearance and a certain tough appearance. And he was, as you mentioned, tall. 5'7" for a jockey, and not least in the 50s, that was significantly tall for a jockey. His natural weight, I was reading, in the 50s was 10 stone 7, but he rode at 8 stone 7, and he managed to keep riding 8 stone 7 right through until the 90s. So in effect starved himself. I think they say his diet was a glass of champagne and a cigar. It is, and had a sweatsuit, like a plastic kind of a onesie, and he would drive to the races in this onesie and keep the weight off that way.
Well, he was an addict. A lot of these jockeys are. All he knew was horse racing. All he wanted to be was a jockey. That's what he wanted to do. There was an interview in 1970, which The Guardian have on their website, which was done by a writer called Kenneth Harris, who's subsequently passed away. And he actually got Lester to open up a bit.
Right.
Which was interesting. I'll just read a bit of it out here. He was asked about horses and men. What strikes you looking back at them over the years? There's two sides to a horse. If the natural state of speed is what keeps him alive, if there's danger, he runs. But he lives in the herd, and even when he's running away from danger, he doesn't like to be first. He likes to be in the middle of the herd. So in racing, in one way, you're taking the horse back to his nature, and in another way, you're training him and riding him to do something different from what nature intended. I think it's what gives them their character, because horses are very interesting. There's no two alike. And of course, nature taught a horse to run, but not to be ridden. So there's a relationship between the horse and the man on his back. And he was asked about human nature. Well, people on their own are different from people in crowds. People on their own are all right, but in crowds, something comes over them. They just want to be on the winner. You ride a damn good race and you get beaten by a short head, and when you thought you'd be lucky to get within 3 lengths of the leader, you get booed. You make a mistake in the race, get shut in, your horse does something silly, or you're unlucky, and you win by a short head when you should have won by a length and a half, and they clap. It's not your riding, it's whether you win or lose. But I don't pay much attention. I think you only pay attention if you care about what people think of you. And you only care if you think a lot about yourself. I don't think much about myself. I think about racing. I don't brood about how I look to other people. I ride as well as I can, and they can clap or boo. It's all the same to me.
Good attitude. Good attitude. So we're talking Lester Piggott after 8 o'clock. Sean McGee's written several books with him and knows him very well, and he's going to join us and speak about him, so that'll be interesting. And Sean McGee was writing in The Guardian about him this week, and he said he knew that Lester must have really liked him, because Lester had told somebody who had recounted to Sean McGee that Lester said, "You're okay."
I just don't think
She was with 2 thumbs up.
What's the normal longevity for even an elite level jockey?
I mean, the flat guys can go on a long time, but 47 years pushing it, isn't it?
It is pushing it. Like in jumps, obviously, there's much more falls. In flat, if you fall on the flat, it's very, very dangerous.
Okay.
But we're talking like Kieran Fallon went up to, nearly 50. Frankie at the moment is in his early 50s, and he's still riding, still at the top of his game. So,
and does the technique or skill or anything change? Has it changed that much? Like, in every other sport, you couldn't compare, say, being a footballer in the now to being in the 1970s or 80s, but is it more or less still just, I appreciate he's not,
I think a lot of it is repetition, and I think that a lot of it, obviously, the reason why they're older is probably because they're fitter and they're looking after themselves more. It's funny, I was out with a group of flat jockeys there when there was a race meeting on there not too long ago. They were all having a drink, I know a couple of them, and they have it tough. They really have it tough because they're not at their natural weight. And there's a kind of a denial every day of just basic things that most normal people do. And there's probably a degree of euphoria in that. But then they're in a world where it's such a thrill. what I would recommend to anybody to do is go on YouTube and look at the jockey cam for flat racing and for jumps racing, because that will show you that it is like nothing like what you would do when you watch the race on TV or when you watch it at a race course. You just see how they have to judge the pace of this thing and they have to keep the horse balanced. And on flat racing, like even Leicester will talk about Epsom, which will hold the Derby on Saturday, which was first run in 1780, which is just absolutely remarkable statistic. How difficult it is to ride a race course like Epsom when you're going uphill for the first couple of furlongs and then you're hurtling downhill to Tottenham Corner, and then they hear the crowds, and then you got to, position your horse to try and win the biggest race in the world. So, has it changed much, Arthur? I don't really think it has. I think a lot of it is natural talent, and a lot of it is the relationship, as Lester said, between the horse and the jockey. Like Ryan Moore, the flat jockey at the moment, is head and shoulders above everybody else. I think a lot of it, same with the case of Ruby over jumps, a lot of that is knowing the pace of a race and the timing.
Okay. Well, Sean McGee with us after 8 o'clock. It'll be a piece worth listening to, I suspect. And I was reading as well, you mentioned the relationship with Vincent OBrien. It seems Piggott was a pioneer in that he was with Noel Merlis, the trainer, and then he said, actually, sod this, I'm going to go freelance, which really wasn't the done thing. And certainly jockeys didn't have employment courtesy of owners. It was very much via a trainer. But he started working with Sangster, you mentioned, and that was pioneering. And so it proved very, very lucrative. And I was just reading, when he went to prison in the late 80s, his fortune in the late 80s was 20 million sterling.
Wow.
Allowing for inflation, that's knocking on 50 these days. That's a hell of a fortune to have acquired. So Sean McGee with us after 8 o'clock. We should start the news round. It is brought to you with Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. And you are starting, John, with news of Keith Earls.
Yes, and the versatile Limerick rugby player has penned a contract extension with the RFU until the end of the World Cup in France next year. So he's 34 years of age. He's won 96 caps for Ireland, scoring 34 tries. His debut was back in November 2008 against Canada. He has scored 62 tries in 192 appearances for Munster. So he missed this year's Six Nations because of injury, but he obviously can fill a lot of positions, and the RFU have given a vote of confidence in him.
Good. We are big Keith Earls fans. Would quite like him to get 4 more caps and get to 100.
Absolutely. I think he will as well.
He should do, shouldn't he?
He should, yeah.
Bit of luck. November internationals, summer tour if he goes on it.
Even the shoulder games that, say, like the third game in the November internationals.
Oh, put him on.
Yeah.
Put him on.
That was his moment.
I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago and I was asking him about getting to 100, and he said, genuinely, 100%, I'm not just saying it. It doesn't bother me if I don't get to 100. So he was lying, obviously, and we do hope he gets there. So Keith Earls through until the World Cup in 23. The Casement Park situation, I feel like this has been a part of news rounds for too many years at this stage.
Okay, well, today a High Court judge in Northern Ireland, Mr Justice Humphreys, said that the former Infrastructure Minister Nicola Mannon was entitled to approve planning permission for Casement Park in 2021 without referring the matter to the Northern Ireland Executive, although she did consult her fellow ministers. So the objection to the planning permission, which was brought by residents' associations in West Belfast, has failed. So it is green light, it seems, for a 34,500 seater stadium. The hopes are that it will be built between 2023 and 2025. We do know that it is a potential host venue for the European Championship in 2028. Maybe that might precipitate it being done, but funding will be an issue. I think 77 million was the initial outlay, but I'd expect it will be costing a lot more of that. We all know with our own stadiums in this country that there's the initial price and then there's the final price, and they're often very different between the two of them.
Yes, there's a National Children's Hospital inflation which seems to happen with these things. So Republic of Ireland continuing their build-up busy period. Dan McDonald will be in on the football show.
Yeah, and talking points, as I said to you yesterday on the show, Joe, will be when we see the matches. I think Armenia on Saturday in Yerevan, followed by games against Ukraine and Scotland. Now, Enda Stevens has been, unlucky with injuries, and he hasn't been really part of the picture of late with the Republic of Ireland, but he's back in the squad this week, and he detects a good vibe among the panel.
You can really see the progression in how we've played over the last few games. You look at the Belgian game and that, and we're really competitive in the way that we're playing, and the proof is kind of starting to come through, and we're scoring goals. We scored a lot of goals over the last few games, and our record, I think, we're unbeaten in a good few games, so it's all positive. We just want to take that momentum that we have and carry it forward. There's an opportunity here to go in as a second seed if you win the group, so that's our aim, and that's what we've got to be looking forward to.
So texting, I saw Leicester Piggott race in 1990 at Limerick Junction. My dad brought me to see him as it was his first race back in the saddle after he had come out of retirement. Still have a vivid memory of the day, more because grown men were like kids that day watching him. That's a nice memory there from Texter.
It's now called Tipperary, by the way, Limerick Junction.
Okay.
Is it? I was wondering.
So, many a time I spent at the train station there, and racecourse right beside it.
So Tipperary was Limerick Junction. Okay, didn't know that. Needless to say, you've worked at a Tottenham story into the proceedings.
Yeah, obviously, because I won't be on this again for a while, I'd say. So another indication that Antonio Conte is staying at Spurs is the acquisition today of Ivan Perisic, the 33-year-old Croatian international, on a free. They worked together at Inter Milan. He scored 8 goals in 35 appearances for Inter last season. Scored in a World Cup final. Has won a Champions League with Bayern Munich. Has had a kind of, I suppose, a roving career of Wolfsburg, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern, Inter.
He's a quality player.
He is.
He's just another excellent player to have at your fingertips if needed. Mightn't play all the games, but
no, very
clever signing. Antonio Conte is a good manager, you know. I mean, I know Manchester United didn't hit that, but not bad. He has a chance.
We're lucky, and this is ready-made stuff. This is not, okay, this is 18-year-old in 3 years' time might be something. No, this is Conte. I want to win trophies now.
Yeah.
Back me, give me 150 million, which they have, and let's see who we can get.
What are they paying for him?
Nothing, it's free.
For God's sake. Shrewd. And again, this is the Conte effect, because Perisic would have been looking around. Oh, Conte's in for me? Yeah, can trust him. We'll work with him.
We work together.
Yeah. Sold.
It's the lure of London. It's the lure of Champions League football. It's the lure of I want to play for this manager. You see Harry Kane. You know, Harry Kane now will be happy to hit the ground running. I expect he will hit the ground running because he hasn't done that. He didn't do that last season. And he's got England to look forward to in November. So,
how excited are you?
I'm excited. I'm as excited as I've been probably since the Pochettino, because there is a GIF I put out every time I see Spurs where you're throwing the TV out the hotel room window. That's how I generally feel about it. They're the most infuriating sports team to follow, and it's been 36 years like that. But we all have, our crosses to bear. But I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm more excited to be a Spurs fan than anybody who's probably an Arsenal fan.
And the boot in.
I have three teams in my life. Arthur, I don't know what, Sligo is obviously a team. I don't know if...
You don't bring me into it. You
what other teams? But 3 teams is enough. It's Clare Hurling, it's Dublin Football, and it's Tottenham. And all 3 are not doing too badly at the moment. Don't know about you, Joe. It's Kildare Football.
Yeah, we're going great. Yeah. I don't know what you say about Saturday from a Kildare point of view. They have been a touch loose in defence, but much better in attack, which is a real inverse of Kildare traditionally. And who better than the Dubs to make you look very foolish for being a bit loose? So I don't know. It was quite something at half-time to see Glenn Ryan and Anthony Rainbow.
Yeah, legends.
These legends having a conversation. And you just know they were saying, what the hell are we going to do here?
Yeah.
Because if the Dubs score 10, this is going to be about the worst day in Kildare football. And I suppose even the Dubs were like, well, this is just a bit silly now. So they dropped down to 3rd gear.
It had the air of that. It had the feel of something that was going to be record breaking, or certainly in modern memory. It was like, oh my God, how many can they go with? I always like the idea of, what if they finish up with more goals than points?
Are you invested in this? Are you excited now about the Leitrim game?
Can't you see it in my face? No. I like it in principle, but am I interested? No, not overly. I mean,
isn't there a fair bit of that with the Tailteann Cup? People like it in principle, but they're not actually watching it.
You know what I mean?
Do you not think?
It's hard to watch. It's not going to be anywhere. I won't be in Leitrim. I won't be in Leitrim this weekend. I'll be working. So it's kind of like, well, you really have to go out of your way to watch it. And a lot of what I suppose with these things with sport, like we all do it, like you don't want to necessarily just be watching it on your own. You want to have that sort of community you feel around it, and even that you go on to Twitter or whatever and people are talking about it.
Yeah.
And forget Tailteann Cup. I remember watching, only a few weeks ago, watching Limerick Waterford, and the fact that it wasn't on, say, RT free to air, it really brought the game was perfect, it was great, the coverage was perfect, I had no problem with anything like that, but you go on to Twitter or whatever and there's just not as many people talking about it, engaged with it, because they're not watching. Because you do have to go out of your way that bit more to watch it.
Where are the Tailteann Cup games on? I presume they're available to stream at times, are they?
One of them I think is on GA Go this weekend.
Okay.
It's just like, but that's not...
Because the highlights don't do enough to get you
No.
interest. You couldn't watch the highlights on a Sunday evening and come away with any strong opinions or thoughts. It's a quick report. It's 2 minutes. Understandably so, by the way.
Yeah, you couldn't be putting that on. You couldn't be putting it on television either. You can't satisfy everyone all the time. It can't be like that.
No, well, the Sunday game will go on for 8 hours otherwise.
Yeah, look.
Is there an argument you should put a Tailteann Cup game on instead of the Leinster football final? Probably not. I mean, I think you have to show the Leinster football final. But in hindsight...
Like, I'm sure it will be. Like, I remember sitting down the day when the leagues finished, and it was a 2 days. So the Saturday, say, watching the finals from Division 4 and Division 3 in a practically empty Croke Park at that point. But they were very compelling games to watch. So I have no doubt that when it comes down to the Tailteann Cup, say, semi-final, final,
yeah,
there'd be compelling games to watch because there's something, no more than, I know people giving out about Derry Donegal, but you're not turning that off because you know what's on the line. And I do think whoever gets to the final of the Tailteann Cup will be invested in it enough that it's going to matter. Those players will have put enough into it, like 4 or 5 rounds. But at this point, no, John, like if they won or lost the weekend, you'd be kind of disappointed that they lost, but like...
Yeah.
If we were to do like a State of the Nation, the football championship thus far, what would you say about it, John? I thought so.
Completely unsatisfactory.
Yeah, that's a bit flat, huh? But always the way.
But I'm military in my views on the whole thing. That the provinces are not fit for purpose. I know Derry was a great story and everything, but I do think there should be a league championship. I would love to see Division 4 final, Division 3 final, Division 2 final, Division 1 final over one weekend. Like a super weekend of GAA football.
Bank holiday maybe in August.
Yeah, but actually to give the nation a day off on the Monday, like an actual extravaganza, a festival of football with Croke Park finals for Division 4, and that really matters. You win a trophy on a Friday night. You'd have like maybe Division 2 on the 3 and 2 Saturday on the Saturday double header, and then on the Sunday you have the All Ireland final.
Which really isn't that preposterous. Like it's not. You know what I mean? It's well doable. It's well, you could envision that happening where it is, because it would be. So I know you don't want to exclude people, and not everyone's interested in sport, but not everyone's interested in St. Patrick's Day parade either. We have a day off.
Like a Division 4 final, Friday night, late August. You know, they've been playing all summer, like going in good weather, home and away, win a trophy. It's on TV. They get promoted. They're maybe in Division 3, and these things then matter.
Am I the only one? I seem to be, who wonders about the Friday night thing as being a bit unfair on these amateurs who already have to take so much annual leave and give up so much of their time, and then you're now saying to them, oh, you have to get another day off work on the Friday, and some of them then probably don't want to work necessarily on the Thursday.
Yeah.
And then some might just not be able to get the time off work, you know, and so it's not fair to ask them to play a final on a Friday after working all day potentially. Now I know it's easy to say, come on, it'll be fine, let's just do it, but I don't know, I think we ask enough of them already. Some of them might get 20 days annual leave a year, and it's a big enough ask.
That's fine. I'm just talking about a buzz, creating a buzz.
Sure.
The hurling championship, on the other hand, has been good, enjoyable.
Yeah.
Box office every year.
Yeah. Well, the round robin is just such a success. I mean, it's great. So French Open this evening is box office as well.
It is. Nadal and Djokovic soon. That's the big kahuna burger of sport today. Alexander Zverev is through. He's just beaten Carlos Alcaraz in 4 sets in their quarterfinals. So Nadal and Djokovic in the last 8. So Djokovic world number 1. We know he wasn't in Australia. That feels like, 3 years ago.
Djokovic was booed in his last round.
Was he?
Yeah. Roundly booed by those at Roland Garros.
Yeah, but they're a funny bunch.
So's he.
Rafa, 13-time winner at Roland Garros. Coco Gauff, coming of age into the semis of the ladies singles.
What age is Coco these
18
days?
Years of age.
Oh my God. She's going to feel like Lester Piggott when she's retired.
Sloane Stephens, she beat her in straight sets. She'll now play Martina Trevisan in the semi-finals. That's what's going on there. Sergio Perez has signed a new 2-year deal with Red Bull. So he won last Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Bit of juice in that title race at the moment in Formula 1. Not much between Max Verstappen, his teammate Perez, and Charles Leclerc in the standings. Don't think Lewis Hamilton will be part of the conversation, but good to see that. What else do we have going on? Just a bit of other news. Ronan Kelleher's out of the Leinster game the weekend. Got a shoulder problem. Johnny Sexton will have his ankle problem assessed in the lead up to Saturday's match.
Did you see the latest attendees to the JP McManus?
My boy's there, Patrick Cantlay. Scotty Scheffler,
Jordan Spieth. This is like the 5th best tournament of the year now.
What's the Live Golf Tour? What's that?
Like if JP wanted to start a rival to the Live Golf Tour, it looks like he could do just fine. It's ridiculous. Can we not get one of these at the Irish Open?
We need to get merch like this.
Oh, well. It's flashing a Masters t-shirt.
Yeah. Which was made, by the way, in Vietnam.
Was it?
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Can we not get one of these lads to the Irish Open?
Well, I know, look, I have so much respect for the host courses like Mount Juliet, all these places, but like I think links golf is important if you're like building over towards the Open, if you have the Irish Open that time of the year.
Yeah.
And we have had the links like the Hinch, as you were there. That was just such a magical week.
That was the one. That was the template.
That was a magical week.
Copy and paste.
The whole town. It was just beautiful.
Yeah, it was. We are pretty much out of time. Kelly Harrington is on the way very shortly. Arthur, thanks very much with us across the evening. And John Duggan, thanks, John.
All right, Joe, Arthur, thank you.